Alright, welcome home racing fans. As usual, I'm a little late to the party, but hey, at least I'm still here, right? Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest from Slotted, the Mercedes 190E. I think you'll find it interesting, a little educational for those of you that are just joining the hobby. So let's get right to it. Alright, so let's get started on this car, and I have to say, if at first you don't recognize this car, well, don't feel guilty. About 80 to 90% of the people on this side of the pond don't. This is an early 90s touring car series, German touring car series, and you know, just not a lot of us watch that, believe it or not. We just don't connect with it. However, on the other side of the coin, or pond rather, over there, these cars are just as recognizable and iconic as 90s NASCARs would be for us over here. So, very popular series. And like I said, it's important in our hobby that sometimes you learn about the history of these cars. So you can go ahead and research this car on your own. You can read about it. But I think Slotted did a pretty good job on this. Some people say that the yellow is a little bit bright, but that just depends on the photographer from back then. Other than that, man, the markings are crisp and clear. The shine on this, the clear coat shine on this is just excellent. I don't see any blemishes. And without taking it apart, though, the detail level, once you start peeking in here, you know, I mean, that's Slotted for you. That's pretty detailed, you know, very, very impressive. So on the outside, I think they got it pretty good. Nothing is perfect in our hobby, but I feel the detail level, scale accuracy is more than close enough. At least it is for me. And I'm happy to add it to the collection. But, yeah, like I said, it's not a car that a lot of you will identify with. But, like I said, that's kind of the fun of the hobby. I've learned a lot about road racing and a lot of different series just thanks to this hobby. Because I see a car and I go, that's cool. I don't know what it is, but it's cool. And this is how you discover things like this. So anyway, looks like an interesting car. I think it'll go well with the other ones that I have. So let's just pop the hood, see what she's got under there. Okay, before we get to the chassis, underneath the case there's a bag of parts. You can see some wheel inserts here, some mounts for the oxygen digital chip. I found it interesting that there are 2 M2 set screws, and that's great because we're going to need them. Of course, they give us a little wrench in case you don't have one. And right here, very, very tiny, is a replacement Mercedes badge for the front there, if you break that little one off. But really interesting to me are these. These are headlight buckets that are pre-drilled, as you can see, to add the lights. So instead of having to drill these out, you can take these out, and these are already pre-drilled in case you want to put a light kit in. I thought that was kind of neat. So now we'll get to the chassis. So getting to the chassis, of course we have our standard Slotted motor, MX-15. It's rated at 21K. I bench tested this one at 2750. So that's pretty close. 9 to 28 gearing, just like the rest of them. We have our quick disconnect plug here for easier setup for the oxygen chip there. So a lot of people like that are using it. One change on this chassis is you'll notice there are 2 mounts here for the front instead of 1 on some of the other ones. Like the Alpha has just the 1 screw. Slotted made this change. They felt that it improved the handling of the car, so you have 2 of them there. And then 15 by 8 wheels. That makes sure you can get tires pretty easily. Standard pod. Couple things though. This front axle, it doesn't spin as freely as I'd like. So that's where those set screws are going to come in handy. We're going to take that apart, put some set screws in here, and set this ride height exactly where we want it. Underneath here, the guide system right here, this very leading edge up front, it appears to be making just a little bit of contact with the chassis. You could trim this guide a little bit off the front, but I hate to take any guide away. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this opening a little bit more, so it's not rubbing, because right now it's rubbing and we don't want that. So not that big a deal, quick and easy fix. So there you have it. And now we're going to talk about some tires. And now you've guessed it, it's time for some tire talk. I know. Thank you. Everyone, please remain standing. As far as silicone tires are concerned, there's only one kind for me. That's Quick Slicks, and I find that the CB34 is the size. Fits perfect, very, very close to stock. Now I'm going to go with the XF. There's firm and extra firm, and extra firm seems to work really well on my tracks, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that. If you want Paul gauge urethane, if you want a urethane tire, then I'm going to go 1912.5 LM. Again, really close to stock once you sand this and true it up a little bit. Plus it has a really nice width. So those are my two aftermarket tire choices. But for our testing on this track, I'm going to go ahead with the Quick Slicks. The other cars, we've been outfitting them with that, so that's what we're going to choose. And the only reason is that the stock slotted rubber just doesn't hook up very well out here. It just never has. There's other rubber compounds that do. This one just doesn't. So we're going to go straight with the Quick Slicks. Okay, almost time for our road test. I'll let you know what I've done. I did install the Quick Slicks silicones like we talked about, CB34, and I went extra firm. Already did that. And then up front here is where I did a little bit of work. First of all, I removed those caps off the top ends here. All you have to do is twist these wheels off. They're just pressure fit. Twisted those off, removed the caps, and then with the M2 set screws we talked about, I put those through the bottom here and here. And when I removed the axle, I also removed these little axle placeholders, as I like to call them. And the reason I do that is they just don't serve much of a purpose to me. A lot of times there's some flash molding on them, and they can sit inside this housing here, and they can actually cause some binding, so I get rid of them. So with the set screws in place, I've got the front axle set up just where I like it, and I'll tell you, now we have free spinning. So there's not a lot of free play, just the way I like it. As far as the guide goes, after thinking about it, I didn't do anything with the chassis, but as you can see right there, I just trimmed this top edge. I just took a side cutters and I trimmed that away, and now it's not making contact. That leading edge is not making contact with the chassis, so I'm happy with that. So other than tires, no added investment, good to go there. I went ahead and I lubricated the gears here with a little bit of the PTFE. That's what I like to put on the gears. And then I lubricated the bushings here and one very, very light drop on each end of the motor. So we are good to go. Oh, and finally, up here, as you can see, where the plug is with the excess wires, I put a little bit of UV glue here. Just gave it a quick shot just to secure that, because you have a lot of, a lot of excess wire. So I kind of tucked that in there, made sure the front was free and clear. So now it's time to button it up, get a road test. Yep, very smooth. Quick little rascal. Yep, just what I expected. Loosened up the pod a little bit too. Not bad at all. Might be an ugly duckling to some, but it waddles fast. And we're just getting started. So much you can do with these cars. This is just basically out of the box. Set of tires. Some of these guys out there, you've seen them. They can take these cars and tune them to the nth degree. Much faster than this, but I'll take this all day long. This is just a fun, smooth car. I expected that though from Slotted. Indeed. Well now, that's very respectable. 3626. I mean, that's a fast lap there. And remember, other than tires, there's been no weight. Nothing else. There's so many mods you can do with these cars. But just like that, 3626. And it really is super smooth and fun to drive. Well, at the end of the day, not sure what you're expecting, but I have no complaints. This is a smooth running car. It's fun to drive. You know, is it as fast as an LMP car? I mean, I'm seeing people compare it to a Le Mans prototype. Well, it's not a Le Mans prototype. Okay, it's a four-door sedan DTM. There's just a slight difference in the body styles. I think it's quick, responsive, and like I said, we're just getting started. There's so much more tuning that you can do. I think that that's one of the bonuses, like we talked before, when you buy these competition brands, Slotted, NSR, Thunderslot, etc., is that, you know, not only you get this base car, but, you know, there's suspension kits, there's different tires, there's different pods, I mean, so you're signing up for a whole lot more when you go with a car like this. So I'm not complaining. I'm really happy that I chose this car to go with the other ones. I think we're going to have some fun 3-wide next time my friends come over. Anyway, always look forward to your comments, guys. Hope you have a great weekend out there, and I'll see you online.